This is one of my two motorbikes and I absolutely love it. It's a BMW K1300S, and like most owners, you panic about keeping it right and looking after it properly. There's me getting ready for a little ride out with my camera set up. So as we're having a ride out for the next minute or so, I'll just talk you through how I'd been looking into the diagnostics for this bike, because I've never had anything, quite as fancy as this. And it's got some pretty expensive stuff on, namely the suspension, electronic suspension, which may need recalibrating at some point in the future. So at some point I am going to have to invest in very expensive diagnostics. When I say very expensive, £200 plus. But for £15, I managed to sort some diagnostics which are plenty good enough for the most common issues, which would be engine running issues, stuff to do with engine management. So that's the purpose of this video, and hopefully you'll find it useful. So underneath the seat is the diagnostic port for this bike. Now, it's not like a diagnostic port on cars, it's a circular one with 10 pins, and so there's no diagnostic equipment that I have that fits that. However, you can get hold of a cable called an ICOM-D cable, which I picked up from eBay, and it basically converts that into a more standard OBD2 setup. Now, OBD2, I do have equipment that can plug into that. There's the two ends of the cable, and this was the exact one that I bought from eBay. Whether it will work on yours, I don't know. Mine's a 2009 K1300S, but check with the seller. I'm sure they can let you know. And it is supposed to fit on the ICOM A2, sophisticated diagnostic machine. So you should have joy across many BMWs. So it just plugs in nice and easily, the lead does, onto the fixing that's already on the bike, and you just lightly turn it until it locates, and then it's very obvious when it sits down. There you go. If you just look there it goes, in it goes, and then you just give it a little twist. And then at the other end of the cable, I thought, surely not. Can I really try my £4.88 eBay diagnostic dongle? And so I plugged it in and it lit up. So that was a good start. So I had high hopes for this, and so let's see what we can do with it. There's the setup there. It's not really good for riding around with because the cables are too bulky, but I'm now tempted to do a little cut and solder project to see if I can have it permanently fitted underneath the seat, so I can pick up live data as I'm travelling along. So you just, if you're not familiar with Torque Pro, certainly look into videos regarding that. I've got Torque Pro videos in my list, and you just connect it up in the normal way. It's like I say, it's done through Bluetooth, so sorry Apple users, I'm not saying this isn't possible for iOS, it's just that I don't have an iOS dongle to check this against, so I don't know whether it works. Anyway, it's connected up to the bike absolutely perfectly. As soon as you get the revs counter there, even though it's got no revs at the moment, you know that you're on, and it says top right, it's connected to the ECU okay. And so we'll start the bike. So it's good for testing the battery as well. You can see what the battery voltage drops to. Got coolant temperature, revs, vacuum in the intake manifold. No MAF data. I'm presuming it may need to be moving. On my car I get MAF data at idle, but it's a turbocharged car, so reasonable airflow even at idle. So on a bike though, perhaps there's no airflow when it's stationary, so because it's normally aspirated. But anyway, there's a nice little range of dials there, but to see exactly what is available, you just go into the adapter status on the Torque Pro home screen and you just scroll down and it will tell you all the bits of information, live data that's available on this particular bike, and there they all are there. So if I just pause it there, you can just do a screenshot, you can pause the video, have a look through and see whether any of that information would be of any use to you, and you can set up dials for all of those different bits of information. So it's pretty handy. And then this is one of the screens which I set up, which has the fuel trim on there, short-term fuel trim figures, long-term fuel trim figures, and I'm just throwing in the engine RPM as well. You can set up Torque Pro however you want to contain whatever information in. There's different styles of dials that you can use, all that kind of stuff. I like these high-low metered dials because you don't have to look at them constantly. It will hold the lowest figure it receives, and it holds the highest figure it receives, so you can do comparisons afterwards. So yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with the initial findings on this, and it's certainly good enough for what I need now. It's even got fault code reading. It was nice to see there's no fault codes logged. It doesn't take too long either. This is done in real time. I haven't speeded anything up here. So it seems to be overall a pretty good solution to get you started with diagnostics. Then obviously if you need much deeper diagnostics, programming, that kind of stuff, then there's the BMW programs ISTA-P and ISTA-D for diagnostics. One word on the ELM 327. I'm using the version 1.5. There are version 2.1s available, which lots of people go for. I could not get the 2.1 version to work. I can only get 1.5 to work. Okay, I tried my 2.1 and had absolutely no joy with it. It's also a bit temperamental on my car, the 2.1 as well, so I even write on it 2.1 just so you know it's a real last resort if I'm ever needing to use a dongle. I always prefer the version 1.5. And this was me trying to connect the 2.1, and then it just carried on forever. Torque Pro just wasn't having it at all. And it's strange because the 2.1 is the most popular version that's sold on eBay, presumably because people think later version is better. You can see the difference in the sales figures, and yet the version 1.5 is cheaper and, in my experience, more reliable. And at £4, it's just worth giving a go anyway. And I hope you find that useful, and thanks very much for watching.